Hello, I'm Namisile Pamela Ngubane, and this is the Entity Dynamics podcast. Entity Dynamics is a culture development consultancy. So I want to talk about the issue of elitism and give an example of it in action. So elitism basically is the idea that some people have, normally in positions of power in society in some way, whether in the economic, political, or social field, who believe that due to their occupying these positions of power, are more important, more special, and more deserving of things than other people. You know, they think that God has ordained them to rule over people. God has blessed them specifically because they are somehow more special. And they also believe that this blessing gives them the right to exploit other people, to steal, to be corrupt, to lie, to cheat, because somehow they're special. So it's kind of like a narcissistic type of approach to life, a narcissistic worldview. It also means that they don't take responsibility for their position of power. You see, like how there's that saying, with great power comes great responsibility. They don't think that. They think with great power comes great opportunities to screw people over, great opportunities to control people, great opportunities to keep people down and in ignorance so that they can perpetuate their power and pass on their power to their children and their children's children, and not giving a damn about the people who they are supposed to be leading and taking care of. Okay. And it shows itself in different ways. And one of the ways that it shows itself is in not giving people a proper education so that they can decide for themselves how to live their lives, so they can navigate the world in which they're living, so that they can be empowered people navigating the world in which they're living in a way that is for their highest benefit. Okay. And it's neglectful as well. Neglects giving people the proper education. So sometimes it's deliberate miseducation, deliberate disinformation, but then sometimes it's just neglect, not caring, not being focused on the actual people that they have a responsibility towards because of their position of power. And it doesn't matter how you got into that position of power. The reality is human beings are herd animals biologically. We follow the influential people in our society. That's how our brains are wired. I suppose it's a survival mechanism as well. If the little infant or the child does not revere the parents and follow everything that the parents do and say, then they're probably going to end up dead. Okay. They have to listen to their parents. And so, and we have to listen to our leaders. Like maybe back in the past, if our leaders were leading us through a forest where on all sides there were wild animals willing to eat us, prepared, wanting to eat us, if we didn't follow our leaders and follow the trail and discipline ourselves to say, okay, the leader said we're going to stop now, we all stop, then, it was a matter of survival. So leaders are supposed to help their people. Like I said in a previous video, leaders are supposed to articulate the aspirations of their people and then help their people to achieve those aspirations. Leaders are supposed to see what is in the best interest of their people and help their people, work with their people actually, so that their people can become the drivers of their own sustainable development. That's what leaders are supposed to do. Help your people to become the drivers of their own sustainable development. All right. People who are elitists, who are narcissistic, who think that they being in a position of power is somehow because they're special, because God favors them over others, as if God would have favoritism. You know what I mean? So already in jail, we're dealing with people with a very screwed up idea of who God is and what they're here on this planet to do. All right. But the example I'm going to give you of this neglect and this lack of care and this lack of seeing the responsibility that they have to the people is on the issue of Lobola. Lobola is basically, for those who don't know it, a dowry that the husband pays to the family of the wife when he's marrying the daughter of that family. Okay. Now, before, the son would go to the father and say, I want to marry this girl. And then the father would talk to the girl's father and they'd start negotiating how the lobola is going to be dispensed. Then the father would take cows from his kraal and take them to the family of the wife. There's a whole bunch of other stuff that happens, but this is basically the gist of it, right? And this was how things were happening. And then in 1879, the British won the war against the Zulu. King Cetshwayo was arrested and taken to Cape Town, then to St. Helena Island. And then the British basically became the governors of the Zulu people through indirect rule. So they still used like chiefs who were amenable to the British rulership of, KwaZulu and everything. That same year, unless it was 1897, but I think it was the same year, there was a plague called the rinderpest virus that went throughout the herds of KwaZulu, okay, decimating herds, okay. Then the British, I don't know what the motivation was for this, but they made a law that said going forward, Lobola can only be a maximum of 9 cows. Okay, and then you saw people actually making, when they made the Lobola request, would always be that maximum of 9 cows. Okay, so that says a lot, because I think, people are opportunistic, whatever. But the point is this, okay, there was also mechanisms where amongst the cows, one of the cows that were part of the Lobola herd was a female cow who was fertile, who would be given to the bride. And she was allowed to mingle this cow with the rest of the herd that was of the husband's family. So she would go with this cow to her husband's family. This cow would mingle with those other cows and it would get pregnant. Whatever livestock came from that cow belonged to the wife. All right. So she was also taken care of as part of the Lobola process, so that if anything happened to her husband, she had her own cows, which were the source of wealth back then. All right. So 1879 happens and time goes on. Then we have the Union of South Africa. Then we have apartheid. And now we are sitting in 2025, right? Ilobola now, today, in this day and age, has become a situation where, and I'm speaking from a Zulu perspective, but I suspect it's a thing around other African and Bantu speaking, cultures and ethnic groups, whatever. Ilobola now has become a situation where the family of the bride gets exploitative in many situations over the family of the groom. Okay, that's not the worst part. The worst part is this, okay? Oftentimes, the men have to go take out a loan, which has interest on it, to pay this Lobola price. Okay, this interest issue makes that loan unsustainable in the long term, and it also causes that guy to enter his marriage in debt. Okay, now the elites of the Zulu people, all right, are supposed to have grappled with this issue, but they have neglected it. Why? Because they have an elitist mind frame. They have money. They can afford these elaborate lobolas. It doesn't worry them. But they don't care about the dude in Deep Sloot who wants to marry his chick who lives in Alex. Okay, or that guy in Ongoma, Mali, who wants to marry his girlfriend, Mahlabatin. Okay? And they're working now in this economic system that we have. It's not the same economic system that we had in 1879. It's an economic system based on fiat currency where people cannot function within the economic system without incurring debt. Okay? Whether it's paying VAT and taxes, or it's taking out a loan and having to pay interest on that loan. Okay, and not majority, I can't say majority because I don't know the facts, but I know a lot of people, okay, end up taking loans with serious interest that they have to now pay off for the rest of their freaking lives because they wanted to get married to the woman that they love. Okay, our elites were supposed to say, guys, in the new context of the economic system that we live in, how do we navigate Ilobola so that it does not become an economic crippling device on our people, so that our people can get married, have the sanctity of marriage as they see fit, and not go into debt. Our elites are elitist because they do not take their leadership position seriously. They're academics in universities who today are supposed to be having symposia to grapple with the issue of Ilobola in the changed economic climate in which we live. Because we have families broken up, under stress, there's conflict because people aren't getting married according to custom because the Lobola issue is such a hindrance. So that's all I have to say on this, but let me know what you think, and thank you for listening. Goodbye.